Is the market going up? Is the stock market going down? I'm going to give you my 6-month stock market prediction. Hang on. This is not financial nor professional advice. This video is for entertainment only. Hey everybody. There were a number of things driving the market lower. The price of oil going up was one of them. It went up to around 125, but then it's recently has crashed back seriously, going below 110 and towards $100. But now it's sort of recovered as I'm filming this, somewhere around 107. The thing with oil is it's affected by world events, and the Fed really can't affect that price too much. It's deeply affected by the war in Ukraine, which for things to go right, that war has to turn around and Ukraine has to get Russia out. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But something else that's been deeply affecting things is the crypto market has fallen apart. Bitcoin went below 20,000. It was around 18,000 at one point. Today, as I'm filming this, it's around 21,000. So there's been a little bit of a recovery. But we're having such major events. And then, of course, the Federal Reserve recently raised interest rates 0.75, 3/4 of a point. So we're expecting them to do that again in July, and they've almost promised us they're going to do that. So you have these major negative events going on. There's supply chain problems, which seem to be specific in some cases, like China, regarding how much they're locking down the country. They're becoming a little bit looser with that, so that's a possible positive thing that could be helping somewhat. But I think they're looking at the bond market, and the bond market seems to be predicting that we're going to end up with about 3.5% long-term interest rates, which would actually be good. Because right now, mortgage rates are above 6% in some cases, and it's probably going to 7%. So what I expect to happen with the market is that the Fed is going to increase 0.75 in July, but then I think they don't meet in August, and then we go to September. And I think what's going to happen in September, they may actually reduce the amount that they increase it by. They may only increase it by 0.25 or 0.5, which this market will see as positive and actually will lead to the market going up. And this also makes political sense. I think Jerome Powell feels that he has to put the brakes on inflation, and that's why it's going to go up 0.75 again in July. But if that has the effect that they're hoping for, and things slow down and inflation decreases, well, then he can take it easier in September, which then will increase the market somewhat, and will help the political situation for the party in power. So now that's a very thin line to walk, and the means of carrying that out, things have to go well. And a big part of things going well is that the war in Ukraine either comes to a stop somehow, or Ukraine starts to win more seriously than they have been doing. It looks like they've slowly been losing. They've been holding their ground in many cases, and they're getting more and more weapons from the United States. And something that's deeply affecting things is that Europe has accepted, and NATO has accepted, Ukraine as a candidate into NATO. This could be good news or bad news, depending on how you look at it. It can take years for a candidate of NATO, of a country that's taken as a candidate into NATO. It can take years for them to get full membership. And this can be good news or bad news. for the situation in Ukraine, depending upon how you look at it. I think NATO just announced, that's Europe and the United States, just announced that we're just going to keep supplying weapons to Ukraine indefinitely. And I think this is a process of just wearing Russia down. And I think it could work. And if it would work dramatically to the point where even if Russia pulls back to the ground that they've covered so far, if they just stay where they are and agree to a ceasefire, and it allows food trade and oil trade to resume more like normal, I think that will make the market shoot up. So it doesn't have to be all the way good news on Ukraine, but we need some good news, at least that the situation is stabilized for a while and that the markets in grain and food and oil can operate normally. I think the reason we're having a relief rally, that's the way I view the recent market action, that's been a relief rally. And I haven't been shorting since June 19th, that it was clear to me that the market was going to have a relief rally. And so yeah, I got out of the shorts for sure. And I started to play around with some trades, and I will be mentioning those later in this video. I think oil is an important part of the whole picture. And one thing I want to emphasize is how deceiving that can be. You would think, well, the price of oil is coming down, inflation's going to come down, right? But you want to look at the deeper reason. Why did the price of oil come down? And that's because predictions of demand went way down, and demand is starting to go down. I'm seeing videos on YouTube talking about used car prices going down and repossessions increasing. For example, I have people that I know that work at Walmart, and they say there's layoffs at Walmart because they can't get the business, that there's not enough to keep everybody busy. And so I'm seeing some significant signs of slowdown at the ground level that signal that a recession is coming. And to get this inflation under control, they're willing to risk a recession, at least a mild recession, to get it tamped down. And then they can always, reverse the interest rates if they need to. And they know that. But they're going to be aggressive for the near future, at least through July, I believe. They might ease off in September, and I think the market would take off to some degree then. But I think there's so many negative factors. I mean, some of the things aren't really even talked about. There's a mega drought in the western part of the United States. California is having water problems to irrigate their crops. 40% of all of our fruits and vegetables comes from California. So that's going to affect food prices. And that's affecting some of my thinking about what stocks to invest in. In the long term, oil prices coming down for the wrong reason, coming down because demand is decreasing and evaporating. If that price of oil comes down, yeah, you'll have cheaper gas, but it's because everybody's doing so poorly in this economy. And that is a recession. And I think it's going to last for a while. If everything went right, if the Federal Reserve is successful with blunting inflation and then being able to ease up in September successfully, and that's a very thin line to walk, we could have a good market. And I think for the next month or two, probably the next 2 to 3 months, I think it's going to be day trading time. I don't think that the market's going to be able to establish a direction until we get definite information that inflation is going down and or that things are going better for Ukraine in the war over there. So I think one of those two things have to happen. If both of those things happen, inflation went down and the Ukraine situation somehow stabilized, I think that would be very bullish for the market, and I'm a buyer at that point. But right now we're in such a state of flux, and we got these other negative factors going on that can affect real estate. I think real estate will be affected. I don't think it's going to be as affected as the stock market, or at least it will take longer for it to get to real estate. So that's probably the last thing that I would get out of. But I'm playing around with day trading my solar stocks, and also I found a food stock that I like. So I stopped shorting. And why did I stop shorting? Well, because of the relief rally, basically. There's no sense of fighting an overwhelming trend. So I stopped that. But I think this is one of the most heavily shorted markets ever, at least in recent history, that's for sure. So there are so many people shorting that what happens, and there is so much negative news, okay? If you get any glimmer, if you get any rumor of good news, the market shoots up. And what happens is the shorts that have made a lot of money, they want to protect their profits, and so they cover their shorts. They get out of their shorts, which tends to send the market up. So basically, every time you get a glimmer of good news, is being blasted higher by people getting out of the shorts, which is like what I did, okay? So I don't want to play that game anymore. There's too many playing that game. And I think we want to wait for this relief rally to end, if it's going to end, or if I'm going to turn around and go bullish. I mean, I'm doing bullish trading on a daily basis. I'm not shorting on a daily basis. I'm trying to invest in things that if I'm right, I make some money, and if I'm wrong, they're the kind of stocks that I believe in, that I can stand to own, that I will just keep. And that would be my solar stocks, the CSIQ, the Canadian Solar Company. That looks like a good buy. And then Enphase, its symbol is ENPH. That has a 30% growth rate, and even though it's overvalued, I can't resist it, especially when it goes down in price on a day, because I know it's a good company. So I buy it when it goes down in price, and then I play for the price recovery, which has been happening. And so actually on days where it shows that it's gone negative, I actually make money during the day because there's been enough volatility. So that in many ways, this market is sort of a day trader's dream. It was made for day trading. I don't see how I can either commit to shorts or to longs when the market is still trying to figure out, is this a relief rally or is this the real deal? And there's a number of negative reasons that are keeping it from being the real deal. It'll only be the real deal when we get major good news. One of my best finds has been Sanderson Farms, okay? And what they do is they produce, process, market, and distribute chicken, okay? And this is going to do well, even in a recession, I think. Partly because prices are going up because of inflation. We'll likely have stagflation for a while. But then people are going more towards chicken because it's less expensive than red meat. So it's the white meat that people are buying. Its price to earnings is it's less than 6. They're trailing price earnings. So, I mean, it's still a good value, and it's undervalued. This is the 1-year chart for Sanderson Farms, which is SAFM, and you can see that it has that nice going up phase with a spike towards these inflationary times, which I don't think will be as affected by recession, simply because people will go to chicken more because it'll be cheaper. Lastly, I want to show you my solar stocks, CSIQ, which is Canadian Solar, and ENPH, which is Enphase. And they've been catching a little bit of fire this week, and they've gone up. And so they make, I love solar stocks. I love the idea. I love having it on my house. And so yeah, it's kind of a vacation for me to trade solar stocks, and I just love the stocks, and I won't be that disappointed if I have to hold on to them because I truly believe in them, which is a good criteria for picking out stocks. Pick out stocks that you truly love is usually the best way to go, because then if things don't go quite as well as you hoped, you can ride it through to when things do turn around, and things will turn around. I've never seen such a collection of bad news, at least not, well, I guess it did with the pandemic, but that was so brief that I almost don't even count it. So I guess you forget those traumatic experiences quickly, and I don't think we'll ever forget living through it. But I think as far as its effect on the stock market, I mean, it ended up being a good thing for technology stocks. It really brought on a great boom that that is hard to replace. And I think we're all looking for that hit again of technology just taking off like gangbusters. I think we're going to have to get through at least a mild recession before that happens. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe so that you can get advance notice of future videos. And I will keep trying to find things to trade. And it's going to be mostly short-term types of trades until the market picks a definite direction one way or the other. Until then, I'm just going to play the bounces. So thanks a lot.